Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Mr. Charles Boda.
Hello.
Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And we are going to do one of our Sucks Doesn't Suck episodes this week, as suggested by one of our listeners. I meant to look up his email address and give him a shout out, but I didn't. Thank you, Craig. Thank you for finishing my sentences
finish each
for
other's
me.
sentences.
We're there now? We're there? All right, so for those who haven't watched one of these before, Sucks Doesn't Suck is really simple. These guys have no idea what the topic is going to be. We did not brainstorm it ahead of time. I come up with the topic and items under that topic, and then everyone is outfitted with two paddles, one that says suck and one that says doesn't suck, and they get to vote. And then I decide who's right, because I'm always right. Just go, suspend disbelief. All right, so this week we are going to talk about Future World at Epcot. And we'll start off with... Oh, Rhino's already reaching for the sucks paddle.
I'm open-minded.
So, Future World, I thought this was a good idea. Like I said, somebody on Facebook actually had messaged me and said this. He thought this would make a good topic. And, I was thinking about it from the standpoint of, Future World's about to undergo a pretty massive overhaul. A lot announced for it with Universe of Energy closing and many other things that we know are changing or rumored to be changing. So I thought, let's see what we're attached to, because great movie ride closed and everybody was pounding their chest, but for years nobody went on it. Mm-hmm. So let's see. We'll start with something easy. Spaceship Earth.
Oh.
And we have unanimous consensus. Doesn't suck. Why doesn't it suck, Rhino? Wrong. Steve. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
It's one of those classic kind of dark ride attractions that uses animatronics in a way to tell the story of time. I enjoy the length of it. I like that it's indoors. I like that they kind of update it every so often, like with the mammoth scene in the beginning with the cave drawings that kind of move along the wall. And I think that it's a ride that can, as long as it's continually maintained, it still holds still holds relevance, because it is the story of how we've learned to communicate over the years. So it's not like something that goes away.
It's classic.
Yeah,
it's a classic Disney dark ride in a lot of ways of the newer age.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about classic Disney dark rides, Snow White, even Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah,
things like that. From the original land, but Spaceship Earth and Horizons, which is no longer there, unfortunately, were like my first two experiences with Disney parks and animatronics, and boy, that just roped me in. Mm-hmm. Just roped me in. So, Charles, you don't think it sucks either?
No, it definitely doesn't. It's one of my favorite attractions. I really, really like the animatronic aspect of it. I love them. They make me happy. But another cool element of it is just the setting. Just being in the giant Epcot ball, being in Spaceship Earth, because, when the first time you ever go to Epcot, there's some anticipation, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, of like, what is that thing? What's in that thing? And then you go through the ride, and now every time I pass it, I don't look at it as like just something in the background. I just imagine that there are other people enjoying it just as much as I am inside of it. But it's really fun. The circling up to the top and then going backwards down and everything are additional elements that kind of like add something unique to it just being a dark ride. And I've never had a bad experience, and it is... there are a lot of like edutainment rides where people could be like, are people really entertained? Is this kind of boring? This one, it doesn't fall in that category. It's not boring.
Never gets old.
It doesn't get old. And I've seen people of all ages enjoy it and still continue to enjoy it. So,
Steve, does Spaceship Earth need to be updated?
No.
I will say no, it does not. It could be updated, and I probably wouldn't be too upset. Maybe when you go down, instead of having the movie on the back of the screen that you kind of choose your own adventure with, they could maybe update that video.
That is the newest update to that ride, though.
I know, but it's probably the weakest part of the ride for me. But I will say, I'm saying it doesn't suck because I think of almost any ride at Walt Disney World, it best encapsulates the park that it's in. So it really defines the idea of progress and what Epcot stands for. So for that reason alone, it's a clear doesn't suck. And then I'll also agree with what you guys said about animatronics, is that it's one of the greatest showcases besides maybe Pirates and Hall of Presidents for the number of animatronics that are in there.
But to your point, it's what Epcot has stood for.
Mm-hmm.
We know with a lot of the changes coming up, namely the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction that will be taking over the space where Universe of Energy was, they're kind of moving away from that.
Mm-hmm.
So does that bode poorly for Spaceship Earth?
No, because I think that whether or not they move on from that, and I know that people say Disney's not a museum, and I do agree to most of that extent, but I think that having some part of a foundation is still good. And if they want to make changes and updates, and then I won't be upset, like I said, but I think having that foundation is still important, whether they make 1,000 other changes to Epcot.
Okay. All right, so that's kind of how it works. The correct answer, by the way, was does not suck. Let's do something maybe a little less obvious. Test track. Come on, first impulse. Okay, we have 2-1. Right now, Rhino, you are in the minority by saying Test Track doesn't suck. Why does Test Track not suck?
I like it more now since they did that update, even though it's not Tron. It's the closest thing to Tron for me. And I just think I like the idea that you can kind of create your own vehicle that goes through those tests, so it makes it a little more interactive for people than it used to. And I don't know. It's just a fun ride, I guess. Like, it just goes through. Like, I don't think it sucks. I mean, it's not my favorite.
Well, you held up the red.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's fun. I like that end when you come outside and you just do the loop. I think that's really exciting.
Technically, the fastest attraction at Epcot because you actually hit 60 miles an hour.
Exactly, and I don't know, and I like the braking and going around and seeing. I know it's not quite what it used to be when it first started. It was supposed to be all about how they create cars, safety in cars and test cars and stuff like that, but I kind of like the new overlay with the computerish looking things and like the truck that comes at you still.
Just Steve, you think Rhino is stupid?
I don't think he's stupid. I think that he is probably the opinion that I had of this ride before I rode Radiator Springs Racers, and then I saw what that ride technology can be.
I think that's unfair, though, because it's like when people compare Dinosaur and Indiana Jones, I understand that it's the same ride technique, but they're delivering two different experiences.
Yeah, but one's so much better than the other that it makes the other one look disappointing to me.
It's apples and oranges to me.
Charles, why is Rhino stupid?
Well, we don't have an entire episode to cover that, but
you got 6 hours.
But no, the reason that I think Test Track sucks is I went out recently going through Single Rider, and the line was quick, and it kind of like it's better than it was when I first went on it. Like, a lot of the changes are good, but I don't care about designing my own car. It's like going to a pizza place where you have to build your own pizza. Like, some people like that. I just don't make me work. I don't just put me in a car. You design it. I don't. But for some people that might be cool. One of the things that it's got cool elements that get downgraded because of the bad elements. So when you first go out and you get like that, you get up to 60 miles per hour and you do that banking turn, it's really fast. That is cool. The braking back and forth, though, like, I would like to say it's because I have back problems, but I'm not even going to blame it on that. Just like the motion of it kind of thing. Like, when you're doing all the testing and the swerving, start, stop, and it's like so jerky.
It is jerky, yeah.
I can understand that.
That ruins that takes me out of it. If it was all just the straightaways and turns, yeah, it will be awesome. It'd be killer, but it's not. Most of it is jerky braking, and then it's one really exciting part.
I also want to say a lot of people really like the Tron update, is what some people call it. I don't like the update because I feel like there's not a lot to see when you're in the testing phase. Like, yes, there's the neon trees and the neon bushes or whatever.
It's just lines,
But there's nothing there. There's no, like, animatronics. There's no show. There's no, like, the show is that you're testing your car, but besides that, there's nothing to see, really. You're just in a big warehouse with neon lights.
The correct answer is doesn't suck.
Bah.
So, 2 points for Rhino, 1 point each for Steve and Charles. The person with the least amount of points is fired at the end of the show. All right. Let's move over one spot from Test Track over to Mission Space. And we have unanimous consent. Everyone's saying suck. Charles, why does it suck?
This is really disappointing because it makes me feel like a hypocrite because I've often talked about the benefits of Epcot edutainment and like inspiring people. But that's actually one of the things I don't like about this is I love the subject matter. It's really cool. But the ride itself drops the ball. It's, some people have motion sickness problems with the
being put into a centrifuge?
Yeah. I don't have huge claustrophobic problems, but even that, even the lesser mission, the green mission, is still a little bit claustrophobic-y for me. That's not a word, but it's just I really like the subject matter, and I wish they could nail it. I like the idea of inspiring people through theme park attractions to get jobs in like the aerospace industry and stuff like that. And I want this to be awesome, and it's not. It's not fun, and I don't often choose to do it. So it sucks because there's a lot of potential in the subject matter, but it doesn't nail it.
Rhino, why does it suck?
I think we've come a long way in terms of like theme park attractions since this opened too. So I'm with Charles on I really do like the subject matter. I like the idea of exploring space, and I don't want to take that aspect out of Epcot at all. I suffer from motion sickness really bad, and it's like what you said. It's literally it's kind of all the elements that cause motion sickness are created in this ride. So it's small space, it gets stuffy, so I start to overheat, and then that leads to that car sick feeling, and then there's the screen on top of that. It's a bit much for me. But I don't know. I just think that it could be better. It could be I don't know how. I think about Spider-Man at Universal, how that kind of utilizes screens but actual elements of an actual surrounding area. I wish it kind of maybe did something more like that. I don't know.
Or even in the cockpit of a rocket or a shuttle, where if the alignment was changed a little bit, so you had a slight bit of breath room, but it was really accurately themed or something.
Maybe more Star Tours-ish.
Yeah, kind of, just not sci-fi, but an accurate kind of
not a coffin.
Yeah.
Steve?
I will agree with these guys on that. I get motion sickness on this ride, not every time, but it's kind of like playing Russian roulette. 1 out of 5 times I'll feel really sick, and so it's do I want to gamble feeling like I'm going to vomit for the rest of the day? It's I don't know. Let's see. The other thing that I don't like about this ride is that you have all these fun joysticks and buttons, and there's 2 moments when you can be interactive with your different pilot, co-pilot, engineer, or navigator, or whatever the names are. But it's not actually interactive in that it doesn't matter what you do, and I
hate buttons that when you push them don't do anything.
Yeah, right. It should be like a video game.
You should be able to fail if you don't press that button, and then tragically end.
I don't know.
I have never been on this attraction yet. I'm still going to say it sucks for one reason. It's not Horizons. It's not Horizons. I thought it was a piss-poor replacement for one of the best attractions Disney ever made, and gutted for this. But I don't like enclosed spaces where I'm spun around or video screens. Nothing about this appeals to me. That's why I've never gone on it. I know there's the green.
Yeah, I've done it once.
You can do the green part of the ride, they call it, and where you're not, not being spun around or whatever.
Less intense.
It's less intense, but nonetheless, not a thing for me. All right. Let's go over to the other side of Future World and Soarin, the new version of Soarin. And votes in.
This is hard.
Okay. So, Rhino, you say it doesn't suck.
I do think it has elements in it that aren't great, but I enjoy the attraction still. I don't like that you have to sit on the edge. Like, if you're on the edge, you kind of get screwed out of seeing the Eiffel Tower not at a 90-degree angle and stuff. But I still enjoy. I don't know. I've still enjoyed it every time I've gone on it. I like the smells. I like going to the places. I like that it ends in Florida and stuff now. I don't know. I'm a simple person.
Charles, you disagree.
I severely disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. The format, the kind of ride it is great, but any attraction that you build where 30% of the people get prime enjoyment and then 60% or 66 or whatever percent of people don't is ridiculous.
And I want to explain this to everyone who may not have done the ride. Soarin' is broken up into basically three banks, right? So you have, a bunch of seats on the left-hand side, a bunch of seats on the right-hand side, and a bunch of seats in the center. Now, with the new version of Soarin', for whatever reason, if you are not sitting dead center, a lot of things look curved. For example, when they fly over Paris, if you're not dead center, the Eiffel Tower looks as though something terrible has happened. That it melted and bent over. So it's more like the Leaning Tower of Eiffel than it is the Eiffel Tower. And this is noticeable, that is where it is most noticeable in that scene, but it is very noticeable from anywhere else. And when Charles says 33% of the people are really going to get the experience the right way, with the other 66% basically just going to have to deal with it, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so the thing is, with the kind of ride it is, putting you there and everything, a curved Eiffel Tower or like the drunk elephant that looks like it's going to fall over, wandering off to the side kind of thing. Like all of these things with the warped perspective kill the immersion. They flat out kill the immersion, and that makes no sense to have like one prime viewing thing. If I get on Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean or like any of my favorite rides, there are no tips and tricks to really enjoy it or get the. It's like get on it and you will enjoy it because it's a great designed attraction. With this, every time I bring this up, somebody's always like, "Well, I wait for the middle seat," or if you tell the cast member, or I do this or that. Well, that's fine and that's great that you do that. But not everybody can do that. That's impossible for everybody to be able to do that, which means that at any given time, 2/3 of people are getting shorted their immersion, which is not Disney caliber attraction.
And I'm just going to say that if you are going to do Soarin', be one of the people who tells them, I want to wait for the middle. Do not sit on the right or left. It really does make a huge difference in the quality of the experience. Steve, what about you?
I said doesn't suck. I was going back and forth because I do agree 100% with what Charles is saying. And you kind of you capped it off, though, with the idea of just saying, can I wait for B1? And they will, I've never had a problem with it. I'm sure if everyone starts doing it, maybe they would stop, if everyone starts asking for B1. But you take that away and you sit in any of the sections in B, yes, B2 and B3 will have the feet dangling down because you'll have the people that are higher than you.
Again, explaining to folks that may not have experienced this attraction. This was actually, the model for this was built on an erector set and shown to Michael Eisner by an Imagineer. And it lifts you up. And you have 3 tiers, like we talked about, left, right, and center. Well, each of those has tiers.
Almost like stadium seating.
Almost like stadium seating. So if you're in the first tier, you're not going to see feet dangling in front of you, but in the upper tiers, you will. So, and that's distracting to some people. Doesn't particularly bother me, but so when he talks about B1, he's talking about basically that first row
with no feet
of the center section.
Mm-hmm. So if you're in B1 or really B2 or B3, if you don't mind those dangling feet, it's one of the best 5 attractions at Walt Disney World. So yes, while for a lot of reasons, I wanted to do this because of what Charles says. You also have to think, if you know what you're doing and you have the tips that you're watching this video or you've seen in a million other places of B1 being so great, then it's one of the best 5 attractions. So I have to say it doesn't suck.
Okay. The correct answer is suck. And I hate to say it.
I thought it was one of your favorite.
I did not expect that.
Soarin' over California is one of my favorites. Was arguably my favorite attraction at Disney World. It was right up there with Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is just the fanboy in me. The fact that Imagineering allowed this attraction to have 67% of the seats not have a proper experience was just lazy. Lazy. There's no way they didn't know that before they released this. There's no way. And the fact that you have to, I've got to ask for B1 in order to have an experience where I'm not watching this obviously skewed video is such a failure, a rare failure, that I don't like it. I tried to. I have a lot of special memories on Soarin', but those memories are of Soarin' over California, the original version of this, not this one. Not this one. I don't think, first of all, I don't like the amount of CGI that is used in it. It feels fake. But that issue with the way it looks when you view from the sides and how distorted the image is makes it a failure in my book. So Charles is right. Steve and Rhino are wrong.
I think that means I'm in last.
You are in last. It's three apiece for Rhino and Steve and Rhino and Charles and Steve.
I have 1.
I think you got 2.
Oh, okay.
But you're still in last right now. You're up for elimination. All right. Stay over on that side. Journey into Imagination.
Oh, jeez.
Get out of here,
Don't
Charles.
you dare even hesitate.
Well, I actually have not been on the new version of Journey into Imagination.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's one of those things. How have you not gone there the number of times? Nobody ever wants to go with me. Whenever I'm there, I have to just do it myself because it sucks so bad that I can't get any of the multiple Disney fans and other park goers to go on that ride with me.
There's one person.
Yeah, I'm going to have to just schedule a date to go there with Kathy.
My grandma had not been to Disney in like 10 years. And when she was here, just like last October, that was like, it was really busy at Epcot. And that was like one thing that we could just kind of walk on and do while we were there. And even she came out and was like, that wasn't great. And I'm like, my grandma, like, who loves everything, like, she was just like, no. I'm like, you're right, Grandma.
Steve?
There's one loon around the park here that thinks otherwise.
So I'd always not hated this attraction for a long, long time. I just thought it was meh, whatever. But I kind of jumped on the bandwagon of everyone else hating on it. And then I watched the YouTube of the videos of the original attraction, and I said, "Oh yes, it's
now we get
Here's
it."
the thing, though. I don't know anything about that original attraction. I don't remember that when I was a kid. I don't remember any of that stuff. This ride still sucks all by itself, whatever it is. It's terrible. It is. You talked about the Soarin' being lazy. This looks like something that would have been at like the Not Scary Farm Halloween ride that we went on that was supposed to be this ridiculous broken down attraction. And I was like, oh, this is exactly like Figment's ride at Epcot. It's just terrible.
What do you not like, skunk farts or something?
No, I don't like skunk farts or neon paint.
And now
Joel Schumacher make this ride?
Now I'm to this weird part where since I've only been on the original version as a child, part of my brain is like, do we want to ruin it? Yeah. Well, you should probably know so you can talk about it. But yeah, I only have the good version saved up.
Yeah, it's the original version of this attraction was so good. It was a must-do ride. Mm-hmm. It was a must-do attraction at Epcot, and then they replaced it with this abomination So correct answer. Sucks. I'm sorry, Kathy. But I don't think it comes as a surprise to her at this point that she's the only person alive that likes this attraction. All right, 2 more left to talk about. Seas with Nemo and Friends. First impulse.
I mean, I like it.
You seem on the fence, Rhino.
I don't think it sucks. It just feels, whenever I think about it, it feels kind of empty to me. Like, I remember kind of that scary fish that's moving from side to side in the dark when you first go on this ride, and I think about the tunnel that you go through. That's the water moving around you that always makes me sick, and that's all I can really ever remember about this attraction. But I also don't think if I were a kid and I love Finding Nemo, or an adult or anybody, I guess, I like Nemo. It's right in the middle for me. It's just fine.
Right.
So it doesn't do anything for me. So maybe that's why I don't react the way I do. I don't think it sucks. I'm not in love with it either.
Steve?
I'm saying it doesn't suck. I think it serves a good purpose of being an omni-mover attraction that gets a lot of guests through, and it's fun. I think that it tells this story. It does a quick little recap of the movie. I mean, it could be a little bit more advanced in its technology. I think maybe they could update it to make it even more beautiful because it's supposed to be the ocean, which I think that they could do something more with that. But overall, I'm saying doesn't suck because I think it's good. It's not amazing, but good.
Charles?
This one's hard. I was kind of on the fence with it. It doesn't suck. It's not great. I think that to, younger audience who really just want to see the whole Nemo thing, it's fun and it's relaxing and it's not like a waste of time or anything. On the other hand, you could do the same thing, the same style ride with other, the Little Mermaid ride where there are animatronics involved and it looks cool and stuff. This is kind of just a tour through different movie screens or screens behind. There's the one animatronic fish dark room kind of thing where it's going back and forth, but most of it is just looking at screens. So it's a cute little ride, but it's not.
You're making me want to change my vote.
I'm making me want to change my vote too. It's there's potential with this style of ride because we've seen it done better. And I maybe with Nemo there's not as much of a potential for animatronics, but I don't think that could be actually a thing. Animatronic fish are great. I wish I had some now.
What? Okay,
that was a whole thing he just did there. Correct answer is it does not suck. But I agree with everyone. It doesn't suck,
but it's not great.
It's the best version of we need a meh penguin.
Sucks, doesn't sucks, meh. This would definitely have a meh paddle. All right, and last but not least, Steve's job hangs in the balance. Living with the Land.
I don't know. Is this that one where you go around and they tell you about how they farm stuff? Mm-hmm. I know people love this ride. I almost said a bad word. It is very boring. It is. I am always hot and sweaty and crowded in those tiny little boats, and I get so irritable. And yeah, I like that you get to see the Cinderella pumpkin, but get me off that stupid raft. Every time I get in here, I always think, what mistake have I made now?
Wow. Okay, Steve?
Doesn't suck. It's normally one of the shortest waits in Epcot. I mean, that's kind of changing, I think, a little bit with people. I've noticed more and more lines there that's just due to the crowds getting worse. But yeah, this is usually about a 5-minute wait. On paper, everything about this attraction should be that it sucks.
Also in real life it is.
No. And I would agree with Rhino, but I always find myself going back, and I always enjoy the ride. And I think that to Charles' point earlier with Spaceship Earth and a couple of the other attractions at Epcot is that this is supposed to be a fun educational experience at Epcot, and I think that Living with the Land really does do a good job of
putting kids to sleep. Yeah, I agree.
No, it does a good job of teaching kids and having fun.
Okay, I'm saying doesn't suck. Now, if I don't disagree with Well, I disagree with Rhino, but I understand it. Like, if anybody told me, like, I've been on it and I hate it, totally understandable. It's not boring to me, though. It's got, like, its own unique little personality. It's got, like, a couple little, like, dark ride scenery things in there and everything where it's going through, like, the farming stuff. And it's just, like, it's nice and it's kitschy there. And then you go through the actual farming part and, like, you know, you learn a little bit, you know, just maybe take a casual boat ride.
You're making it sound like a nightmare still to me. And
That's what I'm saying. On paper,
it's got a very specific personality. It's unique, and not just in the way that it's boring, but like it's got a very unique personality that you can kind of only get through that ride. And it's got a certain feel to it that I like. It's got good vibes, Rhino, and you, my friend, do not.
The correct answer. A resounding does not suck.
I don't get
Resounding. Not only does it not suck, but the person at this table who says it does gets 2 points taken away from him, which now means he's in last place.
Pack your bags.
it just could be done more interestingly.
You know, I'm sorry. You know what? Yes, on paper, it looks, and you get 1 point taken away because you even remotely agree with him.
I said I
So
understand.
Steve actually wins.
That I don't think the math works
Steve
out.
actually wins.
There's no way.
0 to hero.
Somebody keeping score at home, email Pete the real winner.
Listen, I'll go
On paper. No, too late. Too late.
I'll go
You
on
committed.
the next time I'm at Epcot. I'll go on it again.
This
and I
guy's
will
trying
give
to-
you my
Don't take up
feedback.
space for people who appreciate good rides. On paper, I agree. This looks like it should be, you know, the cure for insomnia. But in actuality, we talked earlier about how Spaceship Earth was kind of a great example of you know, the best of what Epcot's supposed to be, and I think this is another one. You know, you got kind of, you know, you're being taken through farming basically, and you know, different landscapes, and you know, I'm sorry, that one scene, that Midwest scene that you go through with the farmhouse and stuff, that is just such great theming, and just there's some kind of thing that happens like emotionally for me when I go through that.
I don't even remember
And then the going into the greenhouse, watching how they're doing hydroponic gardening and how they worked in concert with NASA about how that technology is used on the space station, how that technology can be used in long-term space flight, really appeals to me. The best of what Epcot has always done and has not really needed to be updated or changed. And the fact that, you know, it does kind of have the reputation of being a boring ride means the lines for it are almost always a walk-on. So you have a great ride you don't have to wait for, and especially in the heat, you know, grabbing a quick bite to eat at Sunshine Seasons, the food court there in the land, hopping on that, it's just so nice.
Also, if you go on this attraction, if you never have before, and you say, "Wow, this actually, they were right. Pete's right. Steve's right. Charles is right. Rhino's
correct, too."
garbage."
Charles is mostly right. Steve and Pete are absolutely right.
If you do enjoy it that much, then I recommend one of the cheapest tours at Walt Disney World.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
Behind the Scenes tour, which shows you even more. You have a Walt Disney World cast member that gives you tons of information. I think it's
And it takes you through that, you know, on foot through that greenhouse.
and I believe I think it's the last time I checked, it was like $20 or something like that to go on this tour.
Behind the seeds?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called Behind the Scenes.
I get it.
It's really cool.
I see what you did.
It's a great. I've done it a few times. It's a great tour. Good on you for bringing that up. Extra bonus point for Steve for bringing that up.
This is all.
3-point lead now.
That's right. That's right. So there you have it. Our take on what sucks and doesn't suck in Future World at Epcot. And that will do it for this episode of the Best and Worst of Walt Disney World. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week. Have a great week, everybody.